Good evening to Madam Mushifa. My name is Wong Chen Yang, and today I'll be presenting our PBL 1 for Neighbourhood System along with my two other group mates, Lo Jiaqi and Tan Jiaqi. So in this presentation, we'll be showing the list of requirements and the use case diagram of our whole system. Next, we also will present the use case description and activity diagram for one of our functional requirements, which is NS02. So without further ado, I'll be starting to present our list of requirements. The first one is the register account. In this function, we have two mandatory requirements and one desirable requirement. So at the first mandatory requirement, which is only administrator shall register a new account for both admin and residents. Admin need to key in their personal details such as username, password, phone number, residential address, and email address. So only admin can register a new account for both admin as well as residents. So residents cannot register account by their own self. So they have to refer to admin to register for them. Okay, so the next is the desirable requirements. So system shall prompt error message if the details entered are incomplete. So when one of the details, perhaps the email address is not entered completely, so the system will prompt an error message to the admin who are in charging for the registration. So next, the other mandatory requirement is system shall send verification email to admin or resident whenever he or she register for the first time. So when when maybe a new admin or new resident, they have successfully registered their new account, so both of them will be receiving a email address from the system showing that as a proof for their success in registering the account. Next, online login account. So in this function, we have two mandatory requirements, two desirable requirements, and two optional requirements. So for the first mandatory requirement is administrator or resident shall log into their account using their username and password. So for this thing, for this function, you must have an account. You must have an active account to use this function. Administrators shall submit details, username, and password. So to log into this account, you have to submit your username and password, of course. Next, system shall prompt an error message to administrator or resident if the username or the password entered are wrong. Okay, for the next one. So administrator or resident shall be able to click remind me link if user forgot his or her username. So if maybe a user or maybe a resident or admin, they forget their username, they can click a link over there, then they will get they will get a new password, or they will get the new username. And for the other one, administrator and resident shall be able to click forget password if the user forget the password. So this is also the same function as previous one, but the first one, the NS0204, is showing that when the user is forgot their username, and NS0205 is when the users forgot their password. So next, the desirable requirement. System shall send verification email to user if user click on remind me or forget password link. So when some users, they forget their usernames or their password, they click on the link. So the system will send a verification email to them to verify their identity to log into the system. Next, the third requirement, manage announcement. So in this function, we have two mandatory requirements, one optional and one desirable requirements. So the first mandatory, administrator and resident shall be able to view an announcement or upcoming activity listed on the portal. So both administrator and resident able to view. So in the next one, administrator shall be able to edit, delete, and update an announcement. So this is only for the administrator. They can edit the announcement, or actually they are the announcement maker. So they can both viewing and also managing the announcement. So the third one is optional. The system shall be able to send notifications automatically to the user when a new announcement added to the portal. The system will send a notification with button will accept or decline to the resident so they can give a response for every announcement. This is the desirable one.
I will continue our presentations about the list of requirements of the functional requirements. Neighborhood system for research facility. Residents shall be able to view the facility that provide in the residential area. If residents want to reserve facility, residents shall fill the form that are provided to make a reservation facility. The system shall prompt error message if the details entered are incomplete. After complete the form, the system shall be able to send a notification to the residents. The system shall be able to make a reminder to the residents a day earlier before the date that residence has been booked. Neighborhood System 5. Collect funds and payments. Administrators shall be able to request funds from residents through the system for specific purposes such as facility improvement in the neighborhood. The system shall able to send notifications automatically to the residents if administrator has successfully made a request fund. Residents shall be able to make a payment for the specific funding activity through the payment gateway. Neighborhood System 6. Complaint, feedback, and security reporting. They have two mandatory requirements. First, residents shall be able to lodge complaints, giving feedback, and reporting security issues through the online form. After complete the online form, the report in online form by residents shall be able to reach to administrator. Last of the functional requirements is view and managing complaints. Administrators shall be able to view and manage complaint, feedback, and security issues that report by residents, so that administrator can update the status of report by received, unresolved, or resolved. At the end, systems shall be able to send a notification of status to the reporting resident through their email.
The next one is the non-functional requirements. They have three functional requirements in this system. They are reliability requirements, security requirements, and performance requirements. For the reliability requirement, the system should not crash within the span of 30 minutes. If the events of the system crash, it should not take more than 5 minutes to recover. For the security requirements, unauthorized parties, which also called non-account holders, are not allowed to use the features of the system. The only persons who are authorized to alter the account's information and properties are the administrator, and the residents must proceed to the administrator if they attempted to make any changes to the account. For the performance requirement, the system should be able to operate properly without latency or crash when there are more than 100 users at the same time. Besides, the system should not take more than 1 minute to react when administrator or residents perform an action on the system.
Next, the use case diagram. So in this use case diagram, it is clearly shown that what the administrator and the resident can do. So we're starting from the first function, the register account. The register account includes fill out registration form and it is only accessible by administrator. The second one, login account. It is both accessible by the resident and administrator. The third function, manage announcement. There are 4 extensions from this, which is edit, delete, update, and view. So administrator can access all 4 extensions, while residents can only access the view from view. Because administrator is an announcement maker, so they can edit, delete, update, and of course they can view it, but residents cannot. So the third function is collect funds and payment. So for both administrator and residents can access to this function. So the fourth function will be, it's the fifth function, will be complaints and feedback and security reporting. So in this security reporting, only residents can lodge complaints, feedbacks, as well as reporting things for security issues. So there are 3 extensions over here, which is lodge complaints, provide feedbacks, and security issue reporting. And this is only accessible by residents. And the sixth function is a reserve facility. In this function, it includes fill up the reservation form, and this is also only accessible by residents. So for the last one, view and managing complaints. So there are 3 extensions in this function, which is receive, unresolved, and resolve. So this is only accessible by administrator, where those complaints, feedbacks, and reports from residents will be sent to here, and administrator can view and manage these complaints, which they can manage is through updating their status for resolved, unresolved, or to notify the reporters that they received these complaints as well as reportings.
Next, I would like to discuss about the use case description. The use case description that I would like to discuss is login account. These are the use case diagram for this function. There are 2 actors for this use case. They are administrator and the residents. This use case is about the process of how the administrator or resident should do to log into the system. The precondition for this use case is administrator or residents must be a registered user in the system. The characteristics of the activation is user click on login button. Next is the flow of events. For the basic flow, this use case begins when administrator or residents click on login menu. Then the system will display login form. After that, administrator or residents should insert their username and password and then click on submit button. Then the system will display main menu. There are 2 alternative flows in this use case. First is forget username and the second one is forget password. For the forget username, the user need to click on remind me link if he or she forget their username. Then the system will send the username through their email. For the second one, the user should click forget password link if he or she forget their password. Then the system will send the password to the email. For the exceptional flow, the system will prompt an error message if the username and password that user key in is invalid. Then the user need to click on try again button. After that, the system will display login form again. The pros condition for this use case is their system will display main menu. The rules for this use case is the user need to have a registered account to log in the system, and the constraint for this use case is the system will automatically log out when user did not control the panel more than 1 hour. Thank you.
Last is about the activity diagram of login account. This system begins when user click on login menu. Then Neigbourhood System will display login form so that user can insert their username and password. After finish to insert their username and password, users must click on Submit button. The neighborhood system will check the username and password. If invalid, the system will prompt error message. Then users must click try again to re-enter the username and password. If the username and password are valid, the system will display main menu. That's all for our presentations and thank you.